ask me regularly about how to maintain love and aliveness long term. When people ask me this question, they usually tell me that they don't have models for long-term relationships that are consistently loving. And the truth is that most of us don't have those models. So the invitation here is to become the model.
I don't like to argue, so I say nothing and fume for days.
How do I set boundaries without sounding like a jerk?
I hate the idea that I might accidentally offend somebody, so sometimes I'd just rather say nothing at all.
Welcome to the Language Alchemy Podcast, and thank you for joining me today. This is your host, Alejandra, a transformative communication teacher and coach devoted to helping you transform your communication. Because when you transform your communication, you transform your life and all your relationships. Thank you for being here. I'm deeply grateful you said yes to listening to this podcast, and whether this is your first time or you've been listening every week, thank you for your willingness to devote 15 minutes of your life to deepen your awareness about how you communicate. Reflecting on your communication is crucial if you'd like to bring forth all that your heart longs for in your life, your relationships, and our precious human family. So once again, thank you. As I mentioned in episode 81, the previous episode, during the month of February, I am going to be talking a lot about how to communicate the most important message, value, longing, and human quality of all. And what is that? Love. In the previous episode, we talked about communicating love to yourself. In this episode, I am going to talk about how to communicate love to someone with whom you have a long-term, intimate relationship. I'm devoting this episode to this topic because people ask me regularly about how to maintain love and aliveness long-term. When people ask me this question, they usually tell me that they don't have models for long-term relationships that are consistently loving. And the truth is that most of us don't have those models. So the invitation here is to become the model. Now, as you're listening to this podcast, maybe you are in a long-term relationship and at the moment, it doesn't feel very loving. Or maybe it hasn't been loving for some time and you would like to transform that. Or perhaps you are in a new relationship like many of the couples I love working with. And you want to learn to have a conscious, loving relationship from the start, which of course means that you want to create a strong communication foundation of love that can grow and deepen over time. Or maybe right now, like many people I've supported, you are not in a relationship and you would like to be in a healthy, nourishing, thriving long-term relationship. So if you can relate to any of these scenarios I just described, this episode is going to be very useful for you. First of all, it's important to tell you that you have all it takes to develop and maintain a loving and fulfilling, long-lasting relationship. And it's not too late. Even if you've been married, if you've been together for decades, you can still learn to transform the way you communicate with your partner and bring forth deep, nourishing love to your relationship. The same goes for you who are not in a relationship right now, or maybe who have not really had a truly fulfilling long-term relationship in the past. If this is the deep longing of your heart, you can learn to have a loving, long-lasting relationship in the future. And it doesn't matter what your relationship status is at this moment. You are human, and that means that your heart longs for consistent and steady love. And whether that is in monogamous relationships or polyamorous relationships, your heart wants to be open to giving and receiving this precious gift that so many poems, songs, movies, books, works of art are dedicated to. So take a moment right now and tap into your inner knowing of this longing for deep, fulfilling, steady love. And feel how precious and how human this longing is. And now that you have connected to this longing, let's talk about how to express love consciously so that you can maintain a loving and thriving long-term relationship. Let me start by telling you what I hear so often from couples who come to work with me. They tell me a variation of the same story. We used to be so in love in the beginning. Things were going so well. We were affectionate with each other. We spent a lot of time together. We talked for hours. But somehow, we stopped sharing one another with each other. And now we just live in the same house. We raise kids and we take care of a lot of responsibilities. I could talk a lot about what happens to us humans who naturally expressed love to someone in the beginning, but then that experience turned into something else. In this episode, however, I want to focus on something for you to take away today. And once again, whether you are in a relationship or not, this is going to be useful. Let's talk about acknowledging what's true and that from my perspective, we don't talk about enough in our culture. And that is that it's easy to express love, care, affection when things are going well. And if you're wondering about this, take a moment to think about it. When things are going well, you express love easily. So for example, you say thank you when you look at your partner in the eye. You share about yourself with your partner. You are interested in your partner's experience, right? When things are going well, it's easy to see something you know your partner loves and buy it for them just because. Or to put together a surprise birthday party. Or to have their back when they made a mistake, or to protect them if someone's criticizing them. When things are going well, it's so easy to bake their favorite cookies or get takeout from the restaurant that you know they love, or to listen to them with your whole attention when they tell you about a work conflict, to help them figure something out. When things are going well, it's easy to forgive them when they were trying to help you do the laundry and now all the clothes have turned pink. Or to be patient with them when they did something special for you and it didn't quite work out. Patience just emerges within you. You may even laugh about it and find it cute, endearing. When things are going well, it's so easy to give affection, to offer touch or to be open to touch, to hold hands, to give them a foot rub, to connect sexually, or to use affectionate words and express your gratitude for simple things like doing the dishes, taking the trash out, or helping the kids get dressed. So if you're nodding right now, or if you're smiling as you're listening to all these ways in which we tend to express love, I want you to own that you know how to express love, how to communicate lovingly. And I'm going to say it again. Yes. You know how to express love. You know how to communicate lovingly. So let that knowing sink in within you for a moment. In those moments when it feels easy to express love, to communicate lovingly, what's happening is that some deep part of you is remembering that you chose this person to be your friend, your partner, your lover, the parent of your children, your confidant. In those moments or during those seasons of your relationship when you perceive that things are going well, you acknowledge with your words and behavior how special this person is in your life. And you also acknowledge how different this relationship is from any other relationship. It's not like the relationship with your family or your friends or your coworkers, your children, or other people in the community. this relationship is different. There was a moment when you and the other person chose each other. And you said in your hearts, even if you're not officially married, there was a moment when you said, I do. I do choose to be your partner and to have you as my partner. When you perceive that things are going well, you are remembering that choice. And when you remember that choice, it's easy to express love, to communicate lovingly. But when we perceive that things are not going well and we start to experience our partner as a challenge, as an obstacle, there's a part of us that forgets our choice. And unless we address what's happening within us, we start to relate to our partner as a challenge or as an obstacle. And we communicate with our partner, the person we chose, we communicate with them as an obstacle. Sometimes in the face of an obstacle, in the face of a challenge, we get angry at that challenge, at that obstacle. Sometimes we reject them. We take distance from them. When we take our partner to be that challenge, that obstacle, we tend to refrain from the kind, affectionate, loving words and behaviors that we can communicate naturally. Sometimes we become afraid of them. And we feel unsafe, so we shut down. Or sometimes we stop having depth in our relationships and we only talk about surface things like planning, scheduling, kids, and family activities. The thing is that when you are communicating in these ways I just described, your partner starts reacting to this communication in the way they usually react. And if this persists for a long time, you are not going to feel the presence of love in your relationship, or you're not going to be willing to give or communicate love. When we relate to each other unlovingly in a long-term relationship, we both suffer. If this has happened to you, or if this is what you are experiencing right now, please know that this is also a human experience. In our relationships, we have moments and seasons when things are going well or when we perceive that things are going well. And we also have moments and seasons when things are not going well or when we perceive that things are challenging. So if you're going through a challenging moment or a challenging season right now, don't feel defeated or that life is betraying you. Or don't fall into this idea that we see in movies or songs that romantic relationships or intimate relationships always need to go well for us, or that if we were with the right person, we will never have a challenge in our relationship. So if you're in a long-term relationship or you want to be in one, let's be mature, honest, and realistic, and understand that things are not going to go well all the time. Every relationship has challenges, and those challenges may show up at any moment. So if you want to have a conscious, loving, long-term relationship, my message to you today is that you need to learn to express love and communicate lovingly, not only when things are easy, but especially when things are challenging. When things are hard, you need to remember that you have the natural ability to express love and communicate lovingly. You need to remember that this is part of your nature and that your ability to express love or communicate lovingly doesn't depend on whether things are going well or not. So right now, whether things are going well or not, commit to remembering your loving nature. When you remember your loving nature, you are able to also remember your choice, your yes, your I do choose to be your partner and to have you as my partner. And notice how I didn't use the past tense. I didn't say, remember who you chose. I said, remember that you choose to be this person's partner right now and to have them as your partner. Because that will bring us to the present moment, which is where we are going to find our capacity to communicate lovingly. So, for example, when I encounter challenges with my beloved, I am committed to asking myself, how would love communicate right now? How would love communicate right now? This question has helped me for the last 18 years, and I hope it helps you too. If you'd like to know what the greatest secret is to maintaining a loving and thriving long-term relationship, then pay close attention. The greatest secret to maintaining a loving and thriving long-term relationship is to commit to communicate lovingly every single day, regardless of whether things are easy or hard. And by the way, most of the time we'll spend with our beloveds is not going to be within the spectrum of easy or hard, but within the reality of doing very ordinary things like laundry, grocery shopping, standing in line for something, driving, making food, caring for our families, working, cleaning the house, or keeping the household organized. When you communicate lovingly on a daily basis, doing ordinary things with your beloved, that's what's going to help you remember how to communicate lovingly when things are hard. And that's what's going to make it even easier to express your love when things are easy. So that's the takeaway. If you long for a fulfilling and meaningful conscious relationship, one in which you give and receive love steadily, one in which there's aliveness and wholesomeness, depth and intimacy, then you need to learn to express love every single day. And if you received my newsletters, you read how I express my love to my beloved Matthew every day. Yes, in my newsletters, I share more intimately with you about how I work with my own communication, and I also give you communication tools that you can put into practice right away. If you're not in my mailing list, it's very easy to sign up. Just go to languagealchemy.com and sign up there. And now let's recap what you've heard in this episode. In this episode, we talked about how to communicate lovingly with a long-term intimate partner to keep the relationship alive, loving, and thriving. We started the episode by connecting to your own human longing for steady love. We also talked about how the relationship with our romantic partner is unique, and so it needs unique attention. We also talked about how when things are easy, it's easy to remember that you chose this person and that you chose to be this person's partner. And when you remember your choice, it's so easy and natural to communicate love. Then we talked about how when things are hard, we tend to regard the other as a challenge or an obstacle and forget about our choice. So I encouraged you to remember your choice and make sure you communicate love every single day, especially while you're doing ordinary things. Before you go, if you notice that you're having difficulty expressing love on the daily, then you need to work on your communication. Working on your communication is an act of love. At this moment, I'm accepting a few new clients, and if you and your partner would like to work on this together, you can sign up for a 75-minute consultation with me. To learn more, you can go to languagealchemy.com. I sincerely hope this episode was useful, and I'd love to hear what resonated for you. I'll hope you reach out to me directly, or you can DM me on Instagram at Language Alchemy. Thank you so much for listening, and a special thanks to the couples I worked with who are communicating love to one another on a daily basis. Next week, we're going to talk about some signs that your communication may be unloving and how to change that. Until next week, and as we say in Argentina, ciao ciao! Original music by Gary LaPoe. You can find all links in the show notes at languagealchemy.com.